Welcome, Nate, to TruPoint's Talk Tech. Let's
Thank you
jump
for
right
having me.
in and start with you. If you could do a brief intro and include your background and why Nitel.
Yeah, sure. So my background, for those that don't know me, I've been in this industry, dating myself a little, since 2000. I started out, I feel like I've done a little bit of everything. I started in project management with a company that in the Southeast, everybody loved and knew as Nuvox. Worked there up through the channel, moving into sales support, then account management, and eventually under the Windstream umbrella, ran some things that were very channel specific around account management. I've been at Nitel for a little over 6 years, previously vice president of account management here. For the last 3.5 years, I've actually been RVP of our East region under sales.
Good. And I love the fact that you kind of started in support. I think that brings a really unique perspective to sales that
Mm-hmm.
that is quite unique. So tell us a little bit about who is Nitel and where you think Nitel's positioned in the technology space.
That's a really great question. So Nitel, at our core, what we are is a global channel only global channel only network as a service provider. So what that means is we're going to work with you on everything that you need from a network aggregation perspective, but also add in other layers such as managed firewalls, managed SD-WAN, and those could be purchased from Nitel or on their own. So we work, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. We work really hard to make sure we're getting a right solution for the client around what they're looking for. But really, at the end of the day, it's about connecting anybody, anywhere to any of their applications and making sure that they have all of the services to make that happen.
Okay. So then who do you think the ideal client is for Nitel? And in addition to NAS, what do you think some of the solutions that you have differentiate you?
Yeah. So from a, let's say, sweet spot perspective, we have some very, very large customers. We have some very small customers, and we do great with everything in between. But our sweet spot is really that SMB to mid-size, mid-market client, especially clients that are geographically diverse and they're looking to consolidate their billing, or they want to work with one provider through someone like TruPoint, who comes in as an advisor to really help them understand what their needs are across multiple platforms. So, that's one of the reasons we love working with you guys and partners like yourself, because you do have that advisor role and we can work with you guys to help the client succeed in what they do. We really do take a client-centric approach to everything that we do. And one of the reasons we love working with folks like TruPoint is because you guys have a lot of the same values, treating every customer like you're most important, really diving in and helping understand what their pain points may be, and looking at their whole organization. At the end of the day, we are channel only. So we only work with partners like yourselves. And what that means for the client is that we are maniacally focused on customer service and experience. Because we are a referral only company and have no direct sales force selling for us, if we don't take care of your end user clients and make sure we're providing what we said we would, when we said we would do it, and how we said we would do it, we get no more business, which means we ultimately would have to shut our doors. So obviously we don't want that to happen. So, from CEO all the way down in our organization, we are maniacally focused on that customer experience.
Super duper important.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are some of the problems that your solutions are solving for your clients?
That's a very interesting question. So I think when people think of someone like a Nitel, whether it's our competition or us, they ultimately start thinking of, oh, let's talk about circuits. And in the aggregation world, that's where it all starts. It all starts there. Everything has to ride on it. So I completely get that. But one of the things that we really like to do, and we've done very well with you guys doing this, is having a real conversation around the customer. Anybody can go in and I think ask the typical questions you probably hear, which are, how many circuits do you have? at each location. What speeds are you looking for? That's great. You're probably going to ultimately need to know that for sure. But I think where a lot of organizations miss the point, and where we strive to not miss the point, is what's going on in your organization? How are your users within your organization tying into your network? What are they doing on that network? How's that traffic allocated? Are they experiencing pain points around that? If you could have your perfect world scenario for your company, what would that look like? All the way down to things that people would never suspect are network oriented, such as I just put in a new EMR last month, and we're having some problems getting to it. Everybody's complaining about it. People don't really think that that's a big network thing, but when you start talking about the pain points of your employees, your users within the organization, and what they're experiencing versus what you might just look at as an IT director or a CIO, that's where we can really work together to put some things in place within that NAS scope around priority cloud and voice connections, or managed security, or managed SD-WAN, or even working with you to help prioritize the SD-WAN you already have and allocate it properly so that you don't have a lot of those user experiences that are poor.
Right. And that's something that I've always appreciated about Nitel, Nate, is the fact that it starts with a business conversation and understanding the pain points of the client instead of just trying to sell them a specific technology.
Yeah.
So all that said, you have some competitors out there and some other providers who would say that, they have the same offerings. What do you think are the three key differentiators about Nitel that we want our customers to know?
That is the $1 million question. So, and you would be spot on. Whether suppliers like Nitel want to admit it or not, us and our competition, by and large, offer the same sorts of products. We may deliver them a little differently and things like that, but by and large, the product sets are very similar. So where I would say we differentiate against some of our competition, not all certainly, we do have our own backbone network. So a lot of our conversations that we have with clients around what their pain points are specifically centered on things like that. How can we provide a better middle mile experience to protect your traffic, or ensure that it's protected from a security level as well? If you're in certain fields, like certain verticals have different compliances, protecting that middle mile traffic instead of riding the public internet, that's one of the ways that we can work to differentiate. Another way that we work to differentiate is tying in those pain points and really coming to a customer-centric and focused solution, one that the customer understands and buys into, rather than just trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and simply send a quote back out. But at the end of the day, a lot of our competition does that too. And I think where we truly differentiate at above everything is our people and how we work. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we're maniacal about the customer and partner experience. We are very focused on making sure that we deliver what we said. We've gone through a huge digital revolution within Nitel, all the way from our service delivery and how that's handled, all the way to providing the customer things that they can look at whenever they want, however they want, in the My Nitel portal. But having an organization where from the top down you're strictly focused on making sure that experience is good, I think that's really where we do differentiate more than others. From a NAS perspective, and NAS means different things depending on where you work.
Right.
So
what does it mean to you?
Yep. So for us, it's really tying in the things that most people don't want to do. More often than not, what we see from people within organizations is they don't want to manage their network. They don't want to have to worry about it. They don't want to run it. They want to run their business. They want to grow what they're doing to put money in their pockets. They don't want especially in a small to medium-sized organization, they don't want their IT staff, limited as it may be, to spend 90% of their time on managing the network. They want them focused on things to grow. So that's where we come in. We will take over management of their network for them, whether those circuits are on Nitel or not. a great example of that would be in the days of old. Let's just use easy numbers because I'm not a mather. Let's say 20 location customer, and they come to you and you're looking for, some solutions for them, but 10 of those sites are still under contract for another year and a half. In the days of old, that would have been a conversation that kind of stalled there, and it would have been, let's revisit that in another 12 months. Partner could forget. The client may change staff and the staff forgets, it gets lost in the shuffle. Now what we can do is we can actually take over not only monitoring of those circuits that maybe we can't bring over today, but we can do break fix on it as well. So we can still supply one partner for that customer to work with from a supplier perspective, and then works as those come out of contract to bring the rest over under one bill as well. In addition to that, there's also, getting back to they don't want to manage it, they don't want to run it. During COVID, how many folks went out and bought things they needed that they'd never had before? Mm-hmm. They went out and they bought SD-WAN appliances or new firewalls or things that they really don't have the staff to manage even today.
Or the expertise for that
or
matter.
The expertise, yeah. So, a lot of our competition will say, we would love to sell you SD-WAN, but you're going to have to get your appliances from us. We don't force a client into that. As long as it is a platform from a managed firewall perspective or SD-WAN that our engineering team is actually certified in and can provide a good proactive experience for the client, we will ingest their data for them and manage that proactively for them moving forward without them having to invest in new equipment.
Mm-hmm. So here's what I hear you saying. Customer journey, very important to Nitel, probably the most important to Nitel. You guys are eliminating time, you're eliminating frustration, and in some cases, you're even helping customers supplement or enhance their IT staff.
That's it in a nutshell, yeah.
Those are great differentiators, Nate. So here's another question for you. What are your 3 most popular solutions, and why do you think those solutions resonate with customers?
Great question. And I'll say it again from the rooftops. Aggregation is always going to be king when you talk about network. Anything on the network starts with that aggregation piece. And having cut our teeth in aggregation more than 2 decades ago and kind of grown up in the aggregation world, that's always going to be what our expertise is around to drive all the other stuff in there. Since 2017, we've really branched out into other services. I've mentioned SD-WAN a few times. That's a big solution for us. Everyone wants to talk about it, whether they actually need it or not. And, I think it's key to understand that as well. Not everyone needs SD-WAN. But I think sometimes in our industry, we try to sell the buzzword. One of the things we do pride ourselves on, and with working with folks like yourself, is if it's not the right fit for your end client, we're going to suggest they don't do that and maybe provide an alternative. So, offering those types of services, the managed network piece, and I freely admit, I was a little surprised by this because this was kind of new for me over the last year and a half as well. The managed network as a service piece has been huge for us in driving sales forward and helping our clients to migrate when they want to without having to worry about either equipment costs that they've incurred that they don't want to lose, or from a circuit perspective, who do I call? Who's at this location versus that location? It just makes it much more seamless for the client to do what they need to do in their world and not worry about their network.
So, last question.
Yeah.
What is something that most customers don't think about when they think Nitel and should?
Security and LTE. Those are the 2 big ones. We don't really push LTE as much as I personally think we should. We've actually done quite a few large deals with that around customers, again, tying into equipment that they may already have. We can just stick a simple LTE card in there for failover, or for, backup on something as simple as a managed, just a plain old DIA circuit. The LTE portion has become pretty big for us. And again, that network as a service piece. I think people hear network as a service or NAS quite a bit, but as I said earlier, it can mean something different if you're talking to me versus someone from another company. And lastly, I'll throw in one that might sound a little weird: digital experience. As we move into a world where, people much younger than myself don't necessarily want to talk to someone. They want to have an experience where they can log in or go to an app and do what they need to do. And having that sort of digital experience around your services and products with us, on top of having a dedicated human to your account, I think that makes a big difference as well.
Great. This has been extremely informative, Nate. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. That concludes this segment of TruPoint's Talk Tech. You can find more information about TruPoint and the services that we offer at TruPointCS.com. Please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Be well.